You're listening to the Classic Gamers Guild podcast.
I let you ride the worm.
Hey there, thanks for tuning into the show. Today on the pod, we are joined by artist animator Al Eufrasio, the mind behind a lot of the characters in Sierra's later era, including in Leisure Suit Larry, Love for Sale, and Space Quest 6, as well as there was other animation projects. I've got Larry's Casino sitting next to me. I see you were the main animator on that as well. We dig into how he shapes memorable crafts, where his voice comes from, and how his unique style runs through everything that he's ever worked on. So, hey, Al, thanks for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Cool. And I mean, it's actually pretty cool because I just ran into Al recently, kind of not exactly randomly at the Portland Retro Gaming Expo, and I got a little interview with you. But just to recap, what were you doing there?
I was there with Roberta Vaughan's FMV Zone. I helped out with some of the art on that. Can't say I had much to do with the rest of it, although I would have liked to. I started off having more to do with it, but some personal events kind of got in the way of me participating as much as I would have liked to. But hey, proud to have done the little bit I did, and was happy to attend.
Yeah, very much so. So we were supposed to meet up with Al and Donna and some of the various group at a food cart because in Portland, like food carts are a big deal. They're like a whole bunch of these like food things, and they put them all together and create like these mini food cities with them, which is fantastical. But James was just learning how to drive in Portland, and I don't know if you've ever driven in Portland, but it is not an easy place to drive. It's like you're driving and it's like there's 4 lanes and each one takes you in a different direction, and if you take the wrong one you end up on the freeway, which is what happened to us. It was just pissing rain out, and we took the wrong exit and we ended up on the freeway, and then we left the freeway and we decided to try it again. We were 10 minutes late out, and then we went all the way around and we tried a second time, and we went in a different lane and we went on a different way on the freeway, and we ended up like 15 minutes out, and by the time we were done we ended up just going to Burgerville over by our hotel room, which is what happened.
Burgerville's not bad. we ended up at Denny's, and then Nalani and Sydney, and Nalani's friend.
Would you say the name of the place was? It sounded like a
Oh,
fictional.
Denny's.
Oh wait, Denny's, right?
It's just regular.
Denny's, yeah. Was it like a Burgerville? Did somebody say?
That's what I said. Burgerville was. I'd never been to a Burgerville, and by the time I left Portland, I'd been like 6 times.
Yeah, it doesn't sound real.
Yeah, Burgerville's pretty big down there.
It is, yeah, and they got a big menu, and they got like this apple pie ice cream thing.
What did you guys end up thinking of PRG?
Well, I mean, James and I both had completely different points of view on it because he was busy with Jacob, my son, playing all the arcade games. They completed Street Fighter 2. They played pinball until they couldn't play it anymore. They were just exhausted.
Oh, wow.
And they loved it, every minute of it. They had a great time. Yeah, and for me on my side, I mean, you were there. All my crew was there. So, you know, it was emotional. It was sad. It was happy. It was a lot,
Yeah.
right? It was different, right? We had a different team, and we all kind of had to work together in different ways. But yeah, with the band and having everybody see each other, and having you and Mark get to see each other. I mean, you and Mark Siebert hadn't seen each other in a long time.
Oh yeah.
I love that, the energy of the reunions, and you know, Ken Allen was there, and it was very Sierra, even Metal Jesus
right.
and everything, right? It was very, very Sierra.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess with us it was a little different. I asked because afterwards online I saw kind of a lot of mixed reviews. People saying, "Oh, it wasn't as good as in past years," and
Really?
this, that, and the other. Yeah, you know. But I was thinking about it afterward. You know, from reading those, I was thinking, you know, if you think that it's not as good as in years past, that's the time to walk around and maybe take a closer look at things you normally wouldn't look as close at.
Yeah, that's true. And take that time to just sort of take another look at it a different way. I think there could have been better signage I feel that was maybe the
Yeah.
main thing that needed to have been worked on for all of the exhibits. I didn't know there was a VHS trade-off, things like that. And then you kind of know what's there. I think I missed out on some things. Otherwise, I had a great time.
Yep. Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
I liked the
Yeah.
pictures of other people being there. So,
Did you?
Yeah.
Those were good pictures, man. Well, at least you made it to the fanfare last year, so that was
Yeah.
good. That was a big adventure. Now, Paul is. I don't know if you've announced it yet, but you might be taking a trip outside of town anyways in a little while, so you will be doing adventures.
yeah, that's fair. Right, exactly. I'm going home for a little bit. Al, are you on the East Coast? I feel like I remember you saying that you
I'm from the East Coast
from there.
originally.
Right on.
I'm near Seattle
Okay.
right now.
Okay. Are you from Jersey?
I am.
Okay, same here. I couldn't. I wasn't convinced that was an actual memory I had, but apparently I remember that.
No,
Yeah.
I'm from Jersey, man.
Right on. Okay, cool. Where are we from?
The Elizabeth area.
Okay, right on. I was more to south, like Cherry Hill, very, more like
Nah.
Philly kind of.
I'm not that hoity-toity.
Well,
No, man, I'm from the streets.
But Cherry Hill's technically in Camden County, which that's what we used to say if we wanted to sound hard. But like, yeah, I'm from Camden, man.
Yeah, good point. Good point. Camden's supposed to be pretty hood. I'm not very familiar with the area.
Yeah. But yeah, no, Cherry Hill's pretty is pretty Jewy. That's where my people are from down there.
The thing about Jersey is that compared to other parts of the country, people tend to stay in their own little enclaves more,
Yeah.
unless they're going down the shore.
Right.
Yeah, the shore is kind of like where everyone goes, but other than that, you typically tend to stay in your area
Yeah, that's a good point. You're
for
right.
some reason. I don't know why it's that way. It's just it's very residential, I suppose. So there's no need to
Yeah.
really
That's a great
travel
way to
around.
put it. Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, that's a good point. I never thought about that before because it's such a small state, but it's when you're there, you don't act like it's a quick drive to here and there. It's everything. You're right. It just feels very residential. Huh.
yeah, we've always wanted to go to New Jersey just because of James's hockey team being the New Jersey Devils. So it's on our bucket list as a place we do eventually want to go to because we've watched every game and it's getting harder and harder with hockey to get every game. You now need to subscribe.
Oh, let me
to
know.
like,
I'll give you the grand tour.
oh, please. Yes, I would love that. That would be awesome. And you know what? You're not only like on the side, like outside of video games and things, you do writing for like weird artifacts of different places, right?
Yeah, Weird New Jersey, which is a magazine. In fact, a
Right.
new one just came out recently, and
Ooh,
for the first time in a long time, I have illustrations in it.
Very cool. Ah, that's awesome. Those books
Congratulations.
are so fun. The Weird State series. Very cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is I mean, you have the book series. It originated with a magazine that came out once or twice a year, and so that's still going. But it only came out once this past year.
nice to see it still is. I mean, magazines and books in general have been having a bit of a rough go, so I'm
Oh
just
yeah,
happy to see media continue.
yeah.
I mean, I like actual feely things, right? Like I have in my hands, I have the Larry Casino box. I was just reading through the credits
Right.
and the stuff on it, and this is good. This is real artifact. Did you ever keep any of the game boxes of games that you worked on?
Yes, I couldn't tell you which ones at the moment. Chances are I have a bunch of them up in my attic, actually. I'm looking next to me on my desk, and I have the CD cases with the CDs in them.
Nice.
But the boxes, I'm sure I kept the packaging somewhere.
Did you ever get like special editions, or was it just like the regular one
Yeah,
everybody would have?
just the regular one when it first came out.
Would you have had to have bought it, or did like Sierra hook you guys up with it if you worked on it?
No, they would give everyone whenever a product came out. Well, the team certainly got it, and I believe if you wanted one that maybe you didn't work on, you could certainly request it.
So when you first went to get a job at Sierra or you first got hired at Sierra, we might as well run through how that all happened since I think a lot of
Sure.
the people listening are always curious about origin stories. I mean, gosh knows I am. And why video games and why animating?
That was kind of interesting. I went to the Kubert School of Art in Dover, New Jersey, and as it turned out, a couple years before I graduated, they'd hired Mark Hudgens and Karen Nestor. and Brian Ellis, and a bunch of, I don't know if those are the only ones. I have a feeling there may be one or two others from our school because they had an animation curriculum. And then a couple years later, they were hiring again. They needed more artists because, quote unquote, multimedia was taking off. And suddenly the latest thing was, putting video onto CD-ROMs that you can then apply to video games. So yeah, so they needed more people. They put out another call to the school. I had actually already graduated. I worked freelance in New York for a little while. I was actually set to go start working on a project at MTV, and they said, no, come out for a job interview, at least see what we're about. Because I knew of Sierra. I was a gamer, but I was more of a Commodore 64 kid,
Okay.
and so I didn't have a PC or anything like that. So I knew of Sierra mainly from just seeing their ads in magazines.
Right.
Can't say I knew much about the company itself. So I went out there and interviewed. And the funny thing is, I was, in fact, speaking of PRG, I was talking about this with Josh Mandel. They tell you to be professional, wear a suit to a job interview. So I wore a suit to a job interview. And I was promptly mocked by everyone. Why are you all dressed up? He's like, barefoot, Bermuda shorts wearing California hippies. But I said, hey, you gotta dress for respect, like you're giving it and like you want to get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely
And
respect that.
yeah, and so yeah, I guess they liked what I had to say and show, and
You got the last laugh after all wearing the suit, you know?
yeah,
All those surfy hippies could get out of there. You got the job.
yeah.
So what did you show them? I mean, what was did you have a portfolio?
I had a demo reel of animation. I worked on a music video, but I might not have had that video at the time yet. I don't quite. No, you know what? I probably showed them that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I assisted on that.
Because you didn't just get in as a part of the big team. You got in as one of the in crew. Like you're on the lead animator page on some of them. Like people. Like how did you do that? Did you already have friends in the company, or did you guys just get along really well?
Well, I mean, there was the nepotism of the people from my art school already being there.
Mm-hmm.
There was that, and really, the what they wanted to hire me for, the specific project they wanted to hire me for, which started as a Leisure Suit Larry platform game, and then by the time I was there 2 weeks later, literally 2 weeks later, had transformed into a game called Capital Punishment, which was kind of like an interactive editorial cartoon. Which, if it doesn't sound familiar, it's because it didn't come out.
Ah,
Ended up getting
Darn it.
canceled. That was a small team anyway, so they said, "Sure, you could be lead animator. In fact, you could be the only animator." And I said, "All right, hey, lead the way." I learned more about computers my first week there than I did in 3 years of art school.
Damn. Okay.
Which I don't know whether it says something good about Sierra or something bad about the school.
Right.
Maybe a little of both.
So what was your, if I go back just one more step, what was your origin with animation? Like what got you into it? Where did you learn? I mean, I know you alluded to art school, so I'm braced for that answer, but just curious if you ever checked out like Richard Williams, like Survival Kid or, things like that. What got you into it?
Oh yeah, I mean that came out. The Richard Williams Animator Survival Kit came out way later.
Oh, did it? Okay.
Yeah, I was like an industry veteran by then, but I have a copy of the book for sure. But no, I mean what got me into cartoons is or animation is that I grew up watching cartoons back in the day, and like pretty much anyone of my generation are going to have the same influences. Oh, we watched a lot of TV.
Right, right,
But watched a lot of cartoons on TV, and we were enthralled. And we would doodle them. We grew up drawing them and trying to match styles and things like that. And eventually, for some of us, we decided to take it a little further.
Which cartoons come to mind when you think about cartoons that, like, was it Hanna-Barbera or what cartoons?
It's interesting that you ask that, or you mentioned Hanna-Barbera, in that I personally very much noticed the difference between Hanna-Barbera and other cartoons, where I'm, my brain as a kid is going, why are these things so much more unattractive than,
Yeah.
say, Tom and Jerry or Bugs Bunny and that kind of thing. And it's the limited animation,
Right.
you know. Disney, of course, looked like the gold standard, and yeah, it's for the. I like to think a lot of us back then were kind of even as super youngsters were already kind of noticing the differences between the different animation houses.
Yeah. That's crazy. My brother's an animator, stop motion animator, but nonetheless,
Oh,
I just remember him going on about this a lot in my childhood, and he had to bring it to my, you know, he had to show me what was going on and explain it. Like I didn't naturally notice it as you're describing that you had, you know, just catching on to the little tricks of maybe. What would you say? Like a lot of still frames with blinking, I guess, could pass you 10
yeah,
seconds. Yeah,
yeah, just still drawing with a mouth moving
yeah, yes,
and you know, in a lot of cases you're going, God, why do these guys? Why don't they do something? Why do they just stand around talking?
yeah,
That kind of thing.
right. So they could crank out 20 different shows at one time, I guess.
Yeah, one thing I noticed. I remember talking about this in kindergarten. One thing I noticed is that, like, with the Flintstones, for instance, there were times where I'd be watching that show, and I'd go from thinking it was brilliant to thinking it was super boring. And you know, in later years, I would think about like, why did I think that way? And it was because of the writing. The writing was really good, but they would all they would do is stand around talking or talk while walking, which was,
Right.
you know, the same frames over and over. And there wasn't much of anything else going on.
It's cool that it speaks to you as somebody, as an artist and somebody who's passionate about animating, that the show lost value when it wasn't animating as much. You know, like
Right,
that was
right.
such a big part of the experience for you. I imagine that yeah, you're particularly sensitive to it not being there. Like, hey man, that's half the reason I show up to watch these.
Right.
Huh? That's cool.
It's like Naruto. Like, I don't know if you've ever seen that show. It's like a Japanimation one, or is that the right word? I don't know. Anime. And anyways, it's the same. Everything stopped. Nothing's moving, and all you've got is these lines in the background, and then you have like you'll see their face or their mouth moving, and it's just the cheapest animation style. The kids loved it, but drove me nuts.
There's shortcuts. I mean, it's all valid.
That's fair. So, did you ever create, like, I know you drew other characters. Did you create your own characters? Like, I know you've drawn me like Sir Graham Cracker and other characters, but did you go around making up yours?
I would say by the time I was kind of drawing comfortably, like by high school or so, I was actually more into caricature. So, I was the smart ass kid who'd sit in class drawing teachers and classmates and
Yes.
that kind of thing. In hindsight, wow, you bring up a good point. I can't say I remember really creating a lot of my own characters because I was more the kind of kid who would, I would think of a gag, usually at someone's expense, and I'd have to draw it out. So it would be a caricature of someone I know, as
Oh,
opposed to
yeah.
some kind of ongoing comic strip or animated character.
Sierra kind of let you roam free with your character design, right? A little bit, like I guess with like Space Quest 6, they were like, were they just asking for you for your representation of Roger Wilco, or how did that go?
Not so much Roger Wilco because I got in. I only worked on Space Quest 6 for probably a couple of months at the end of the project, and so by then the look of the art was pretty much set in stone, and I had to match that. The interesting thing was Jason Zayas, who I went to art school with and who moved out there shortly after I did, also working at Sierra. He worked on King's Quest 7. That was his first project. And then he shifted over to Space Quest 6 before I did. And it's funny because you could totally tell his stuff from the stuff that had already been put in there from previous people. And it was, to my eye, it was it kind of like stuck. I mean, I'm going to say it stuck out like a sore thumb, but that's not speaking negatively of it at all. It just seemed so much livelier than some of the other stuff in there that he just kind of approached it from a different way. So by the time I got on it, I was actually trying to strike a balance between what he was doing and what had been in there already.
Oh, I see. Okay.
That's not easy to do, especially
Right.
to come into a project that's like part way through. How did you manage that?
This is where you get into technical talk.
Please.
A lot of the Space Quest 6 art was drawn directly on screen, pixel by pixel, with the mouse. This is before Wacom tablets and
Right.
all that sort of
So
thing.
painful, yeah.
Yeah. So when you do that, things tend to look a little stiff. By the time Jason and I got on it, we'd been drawing on paper and scanning things in, which is also how other Sierra games had been done. I don't know why they decided to just draw directly on screen. I mean, I guess it's just a shortcut, get things in quicker. When you animate on paper, you tend to think more animatedly. And so you tend to, there's a thing called the 12 principles of animation, which is like squash and stretch, follow through, just all kinds of little tricks to consider while you're drawing
Yeah.
and making things move or appear to move. When you draw it out on paper, you tend to think of that more.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, for instance, when Jason was doing it, he definitely. Yeah, I remember he had a couple of alien characters standing around laughing together or something, and they were definitely bouncier than anything else I'd seen in the game. So when I came on board, I would look at that stuff and say, okay, well, Roger can do something, but he could move in kind of a slightly more animated way, but there's going to be something about him I'm going to have to hold in place to kind of have it kind of match back to the older stuff.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of looked for places where I could apply that kind of approach. I think I think it worked out for the most part.
It definitely did. Yeah, it was very cohesive by that point. It was a difficult kind of time, wasn't it, with Space Quest 6, or were things pretty smooth in the behind the scenes stuff?
They were smooth for me. I know there was turnover with the designers and whatnot in the back, behind the scenes. But that was actually part of part of what led me to work very very briefly on Phantasmagoria. Well, they had to stop production on Space Quest for a couple of days to kind of reconvene and figure out how they were gonna. They had to very briefly stop production on Space Quest for a few days to kind of reconvene and figure out the issues with the designers kind of going their own separate ways.
Yeah.
And so in that time, they asked the artists working on Space Quest to help clean up video for Phantasmagoria. Within a couple of days, we're back. We're back to
Right.
Space Quest.
Did they have to like teach you how to clean up the video? It's like it doesn't sound like something you could just spring on people, especially like an animator all of a sudden jumping into the video realm of things.
Yeah, I mean, they were using a whole separate program software. I
Yeah.
believe it was Animator Pro back in the day, and that was kind of the thing everything was switching over to at the time, at least for us. We used it through Torrance Passage and Love for Sale, but pretty much stopped using it after that. But yeah, I mean, they had to show us, okay, here's what we're looking for. We filmed these actors against the blue screen, and as a result, there's these slightly blue halos around them that we need cleaned up as best as possible. So, in fact, Victoria Morcell, somebody introduced Victoria Morcell to me at PRGE, and I said, "Oh yeah, I know who you are. I was cleaning you up. I was cleaning up video of you at Sierra for a couple of days."
Had my mouse all over you.
Yeah. And she's like, "Oh yeah, thank you for cleaning me up." I'm like, "Oh, you're very welcome."
That's fun though. Gosh, what a fun time. Now, so what project did you go into when you were done working on Space Quest 6?
I actually moved up here to Bellevue, Washington,
Oh,
to work on Torrance Passage.
that's when that happened. So you were kind of working. You, Al, and Al was working. You because he was working on that too. Were you guys actually in the same place?
Oh yeah,
Cool.
yeah. We had a nice little office. Years later, after Sierra had left there, the space was taken over by the University of Phoenix, which I believe is no longer because they were kind of declared to be a diploma mill. But I actually stopped in there at one point when they were still around. I was kind of thinking, maybe I should take a couple of courses. And I went up there and took a look, and I was able to tell the administrator, approximately right here is where I sat the majority of the time I
Right.
worked here.
That's neat, though.
Yeah.
What kind of role did you have with Torin's Passage as far as not direction, but how much work was it for you? Where were you at in the what would you say in the chain of things with that game?
Oh, I was just an animator. I mean, we had an art director, we had a lead animator who'd be Jim Murphy, and then I was beneath him.
Gotcha.
And that guy was an amazing talent. I kind of, I've told people, I readily admit it, I own it. I kind of let my ego get away with me a little bit too much back then, and ended up sort of getting my feelings hurt naively more than I should have a couple of times. But I always recognized that guy was amazing. He went on to work at Pixar.
Ooh.
If you go on YouTube and you look up Pixar Lava,
Mm-hmm.
he
Right.
directed that, and he wrote that. He wrote the song, and yeah, he was a pretty multi-talented guy.
Yeah, that's the one game I'm still missing is Torin's Passage. I haven't played it yet. I do need to.
Oh, you're in for a treat.
I know. I'm looking. I'm so excited because there's so few games I haven't played in Sierra. That's like one of. It's just such a rarity. So I'm excited.
That's a good game. I mean, the one negative thing I can say about it is that the ending is rushed, and you definitely feel it. It just ends pretty abruptly, and that's because we were racing towards the end, and we realized, we're not going to make Black Friday
Oh, right.
Oh, those
or
deadlines.
whatever our deadline was for
Yeah.
to be on the shelves on Black Friday, which I think was sometime in late September, early October.
Aw,
So we were like, okay, well, what can we cut?
the ending.
Yeah, a big chunk of the ending, exactly. There was going to be all kinds of stuff with, this kind of like a romantic setup for a sequel,
Right.
which we never got around to doing, which turned out to be just fine because there was never a sequel.
Right.
Right. So you would have just teased people anyway.
Yeah.
When you're working on like Torrance Passage for an example, how does the on-screen representation of the character come about?
There's a lot of pre-production.
Okay.
The design was starting to get worked on. You could tell it's going in a certain direction. The characters would do well to look a certain way, so you start sketching them out, creating concept art, and eventually everyone agrees that one particular approach is sort of gelling better than the others,
Okay.
or suits the purpose better than the others, and that's what everyone ends up agreeing to, that a character is going to look like, or some element in the game world is going to look like. Not everything receives an equal amount of attention in that regard, but if something's going in a wrong direction, it's easier to tell. So
Right.
in that case, that things are kind of easier to realign.
And I guess at this point in time, there wasn't really much of an adaptation. Like there wasn't much of a downgrade in resolution, right? Especially with Torin. I mean, I think correct me if I'm wrong. Torin's pretty much kind of like King's Quest VII, just like straight animation. Like there's no traces of pixels. Is I think what I'm trying to say. So you see,
No, I mean it was 640 by 480 resolution,
okay, 644.
so it was what the SVGA.
Yeah. Okay. SVGA.
So things did look blocky if you look close enough, but I mean it's definitely looked blocky to what you're going to get today, of course.
Yeah.
Right. But would you say to the degree that you had to make adjustments in the design, or not really?
Not too badly, I would say,
Okay.
because whatever wasn't quite. I mean, our whole process for that was we were drawing on paper and scanning, right? So whatever didn't look right at that resolution, once it's scanned, you could kind of whittle it down by cleaning up the pixels
Right. Okay.
on screen.
What would a day in the life look like? I mean, as an animator, is it just you go in and you draw all day and you leave? I mean, I'm assuming not.
You'd go in, you'd what do we have? We'd have just spreadsheets upon spreadsheets of animation lists. We would go in, we'd discuss what the programmers are working on. It's best to be synchronized with what the programmers are going to be needing soon, and you work on those scenes so they could put in the artwork. There's a lot of back and forth, a lot of discussion, strategizing, that kind of thing. Do we want does something need to be in the game world that you need to interact with?
Right.
If so, does it require a special place in the background, and how does that affect the look of the background if it does? Yeah, I mean it's a big collaborative process, which I love. And then yeah, even actually like things like the background art. I
Mm-hmm.
believe one person was concepting it out and sketching it, and then one or two other people were taking it and painting it
Right.
after all the after it was all discussed and solidified what it was actually going to look like. Fine, here's the final sketch. Take it to color.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool. Okay.
How do you
Yeah.
think it would, like, I know you've worked on some more modern games, such as Road to Redemption or Summer Games. How is the process different now? I mean, apart from the fact that you're not working for as big of a company, what's the difference in techniques or drawing just because of, technology?
The concepting is still the same. It's just you're taking things into 3D now, usually.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not, then the tools are definitely a lot different, and you definitely have a lot more options to how to approach the art.
Mm-hmm.
And I gotta say, thank God, around 1998 or thereabouts, when 3D cards had really taken off, everything had to be 3D.
Mm-hmm.
As in polygonal art,
Ugh.
polygon models. Everything was
Gross.
a first
Yeah.
person shooter or close enough to a first person shooter. And that was the only look that people in charge of game companies would accept, because to their minds, that's what would sell.
It's the future,
Mm-hmm.
man. Yeah.
Traditional animated games are dead,
Yeah.
Right.
and I am so glad that we're over that now.
Me too. Oh,
Yeah.
God.
It's like everything that we traditional artists were saying back then. Hey, look, all this shows us is that technology is marching ahead. We're not just going to have opportunities to do cool 3D art. We're going to have chances to improve the resolution of our 2D art and try different approaches to how we produce it, and nobody wanted to hear that. Nobody higher up wanted to hear that at all. It took just years and years and years of nothing but 3D
Mm-hmm.
to make people say, okay, we've seen it all already. What else can we? How else can games look?
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Right.
and to think of all the ideas that must have died on the vine
Right.
for that time. You know,
Mm-hmm.
because somebody didn't want to make a 2D platformer that would have been highly innovative
Right.
because they're afraid it wouldn't sell because it's 2D.
And I mean, well, I mean, Paul, since I don't know how much you guys have talked, since Paul's been made a game that's entirely in that pixelated world too, and not a lot of 3D as such.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy. I'm glad to hear Al just preaching over there, because I just can't stand that whole era of the entire industry doing is the frustrating part. Like, it's necessary that a few do it, right, to push things forward. But the fact that everybody defaulted to it, and nobody stopped to be like, hey, this isn't fun to look at, like, at all. It's just not a good time to look at. Can we please, But that's a good point you bring up, Al, too. It would, like, as a traditional animator or just 2D animator, whatever, you guys are able to be like, hey, what if we could scan things in and not have to clean pixels up, and with looking at what you could do with the resolution, staying in your genre, right?
Yeah, and the thing as well, the thing that cracks me up is that the 8-bit or 16-bit pixel look. It wasn't a look when we were using it.
Right.
It was what we had to work with.
Yeah.
But suddenly it's an aesthetic.
Yeah.
And so, like in the past, I've griped, God damn, man, you guys are making games that look like this. You could be pushing it so much further.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, you're paying homage to old technological limitations. But I've rethought that since, and if you're consciously doing it in a way that it kind of validates itself. It's a look, and you're maybe trying to do something at least a little bit different with it, and trying to genuinely make it its own aesthetic.
Right.
Then that's pretty cool. You can go into like any number of directions that way.
Yeah, I completely agree. I guess that's the reason I went that direction, was to be able to blend like Photoshop lighting with chunky, very chunky, like SCI zero chunky pixel art, and it's just like you can make it look like how your memory holds these things in our mind. Like I feel like my memory of old chunky pixel games like has this bloom to it and this glow and this like ethereal reverence to it because it's in my memory, right? So I try to like produce that now with Photoshop lighting and chunky pixels. But there's something also maybe about working in limitations. It's kind of fun, where it's just like, okay, I have to make a ketchup bottle and I've got 7 pixels to do it in, and
Yeah.
so like that's kind of a fun little.
Yeah, and it's a great way to maintain an art style, to kind of keep it under control.
Good point.
You
Right.
set rules for yourself. Okay, I'm limited to this
Right.
because this is how it looked back in the day.
Right. Yeah.
I was gonna say it's kind of like when people make imitation vector games today. They don't have the old vector screen technology to work with
Yeah.
because resolution's high enough to just make it look nice as it is with raster graphics. But you want to emulate that vector look, and so you draw a line from point A to point B, and you add a glow over it, and you can stylize that glow
Yeah.
should you so choose.
Yeah. That's a very good point too. Yeah. I think as an amateur animator, my on my end, like it's I kind of do like the solo dev thing, right? So I don't have I don't know, maybe this is an excuse, but I'll at least use the excuse that I don't feel like I have like a time to go on the side quest of mastering animation, so I just resume myself to the role of amateur animator doing the other stuff too. And my point with this is that the old Sierra games, they kind of lend themselves to it because there's like this clunky charm in the animations, the pixel art animations. I mean, like the AGI, the chunky era, let's say. And,
Sure.
And it's like sometimes when I do an animation that's just it almost, I don't know, it suits the aesthetic, because it's like that's how we remember these games, is having these charming like clunky animations. I'm thinking of like, I don't know, I'm not thinking of anything. That's the problem. I wish I had an example to help illustrate this, but yeah, point is that if I can get away with being less talented in chunky pixel art.
One secret to having something immediately look at least a little bit better: grab yourself a dry erase marker, draw on the screen, trace it in pixels.
Huh. That's a
I
great
never
idea.
would have thought of that.
Right, me
Wow.
neither. Yeah. Wow,
That's
a,
awesome.
You kind of if you're good enough, your drawing's going to look a little looser, and it's going to translate over to the pixels.
Man, that's awesome. I would definitely try that. I was just absolutely fumbling a walk cycle this morning, and and I think I think I could totally take a dry erase marker and just get a little fluidity, maybe. Like you said, there's a flow in the way the hand does it.
So, can I ask about your game? What are you making? And can I see it anywhere yet?
Yeah, thanks, man. Yeah, the game's called the Phantom Fellows. It's already out, which is good news. It's all done. But I'm working on 2, I guess kind of 2 more right now, as well, like a sequel of it, I guess you could say. But yeah, it's really fun. It's an interesting perspective, I guess you could say. Like there's no the characters only walk left and right. There's no like up and down at all. I never know what to call that. Like, I don't know, super 2D, like really, really 2D. But otherwise, yeah, it's like SCI 0 resolution, I guess you'd say, and I do everything in like 160 by 100 pixel art wise, and then I double it to 320 by 200. Sorry, 360 by 200. No, 320. Sorry, by 200, and put it in Photoshop and do the lighting in there, so the lighting's 4 times as higher resolution. It just gives it this cool, at least I like it. It gives it this like dreamlike quality, I guess you could say, seeing the odd contrast of like HD lighting effects with pixel art.
Yeah, one really cool approach that's out there is people make their games with pixel art style elements, characters and whatnot, and then they make normal maps for them to kind of control the lighting.
Right. Okay.
And yeah, it just kind of makes everything look flat but 3D at the same time.
Right. I know what you mean. Like
And it's
dynamic
an
lit.
interesting look, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
I sent you a link to the game there, Al. So
Oh, okay, thank you.
when you're done, and you can check it out. It's just the Steam
Sure.
link. Yeah. So okay, after you were done with Torin's Passage, did you go directly into Leisure Suit Larry 7?
Yeah. I mean, we pretty much hit the ground running on Love for Sale from directly from Torrance Passage. We made like a little demo or trailer, not knowing anything about the game other than it's going to be on a cruise ship. Al wants it to be on a cruise ship, so let's come up with a goofy little video themed on cruise ships. But what was funny is while we were doing that, we were still trying to come up with a new, slightly different cartoon look for Larry. So you see about 3 or 4 different versions of Larry in this thing we came up with, none of which strongly resembles what we ended up with in the game.
Not at all, eh?
And even in the game, he ends up looking different depending on who drew him and where. At the time, I remember I found an article about a guy named Jim Tyer, Tyer, and he's a fun guy to read up on. He was an animator back in the classic era, passed away probably around the 1970s sometime, and he was known as like a super wacky, just kind of like purposely sloppy sort of animator guy. Ralph Bakshi, I think Ralph Bakshi was the author of the article, but Ralph Bakshi worked with him in his early days. And apparently he was like the only guy at the studio who liked working with him because of the nature of his stuff was just like so out there and distorted and bizarre, and other people just wanted to criticize it. But he's going, no, so what if the character's a little off? You could still tell who it is. His whole philosophy was just warp things and draw them funny. If the colors match, if the general look of the character matches, you're going to be able to tell who it is. Don't worry about it. Just draw funny and animate funny. And exaggerate anything you possibly can. And so, like I said, I read this article. I kind of got corrupted by it. And so my art in, I think, both Torrance Passage and Larry was kind of like a little bit all over the map because of it. Because I was like, oh, hell yeah, that's the spirit, man. That's exactly what I want to think like. And I was like, shouldn't have quite gone as far with it as I did, but it was very inspiring at the time.
Is it true that if as long as it's got some sort of general characteristics, people are going to realize it?
The wackier you want to make something, the easier it is to apply that, or the more beneficial. Ren and Stimpy was highly influenced by that kind of attitude.
Right.
Good point.
And so if you look at them from like shot to shot, the characters look different. There's slight variations here and there, very slight differences in scale or proportion. And that's what the guy was talking about. And people who've studied traditional animation, who've gone into animation because of traditional animation, know about this guy. And if they're any good, they've at least tried out his philosophy at least once.
Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, you had a pretty good team. I just shared this picture with Paul, but I've got the Team Larry photo here with you and Mark and Jennifer and Bill and Jason and everybody kind of hanging out on the boat there. And I think Bill has the Bruin shirt on there.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Here's a piece of trivia. Ben Hogue was photoshopped in.
Was he really?
He was not there the day we took the picture.
Oh, that's great. So yeah, was that done at the end of production, that picture?
Close enough to it.
Yep. When you were done with that game, did you move on to Larry's Casino, or was there any other projects in between?
I went on to Mask of Eternity after that.
See, I liked that game. I actually liked that game better than King's Quest 7. Don't tell anyone.
Really?
Yeah, I did. I really did.
Well, it's definitely an experiment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What was your? What was? It must have been different working on a game like that, coming off of like such animated games.
It was. I remember it being very frustrating on a couple of levels. One being that we were using version 1 of 3D Studio Max, which was the 3D software for modeling and animating the characters. And that thing was buggy as hell. It would crash all over the place. It just kind of worked inconsistently. And as I recall, one of our artists was the point person in communicating with the vendor, the company that made that software. And we were having so many problems with it that he basically told them, come in here, help us out with this, show us how to work around some of these problems, or we're going to write this off on taxes and just use something else.
Right. Damn.
We'll never use your
Wow.
software again. And so they did. They sent in a couple people a day or two later and showed us some workarounds, showed us some undocumented features, which we were
Nice.
going, why are these undocumented? These seem crucial. Why would you not document them? And things got a little better. And then as we got newer versions of the software, things got better. And then the issue became just company politics and Roberta being kind of undermined by the people from CUC.
Oh,
That's where
that
the whole
timeline.
CUC Senate, yeah, that's where the whole CUC Senate situation came into play, and everybody was kind of frustrated for one reason or another.
Right. So that changes the energy of the place, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And then rumors.
Oh yeah. Well, I got hired into rumors. I got I think my first or second day there, I was already hearing about how, they moved the corporate offices up to Washington, and so now it's inevitable. Any day now, they're gonna
Oh my
shut us
God.
down. And I'm
Right
going,
from the
oh,
get-go. Oh
yeah, I'm
no.
like, dude, I just got hired. Don't tell me that.
Right.
That's the worst.
Yeah, the whole reason I moved up to Washington was that I'd been looking for other jobs in the Bay Area because Sierra seemed so unstable in
Yeah.
certain ways.
Right.
I was kind of worried, I'd better, now that I know a little bit, I'd better, get onto steadier ground. I keep hearing that this place might close, and my girlfriend at the time came out. She tried moving out there, and she tried looking for work, couldn't find anything, had to go back east. So I said, all right, well, I'll see what I can do about working in a more populated area. But then as they started ramping up here, and I said, you know what, instead of going through the whole headache of relocating and filling out all kinds of paperwork and having to reestablish myself in another company, I already know some of the people up there. Let me just go there. They'll have me, and we'll see how it goes.
Do you okay, let's see. I got two questions for you. I'm trying to pick one.
Sure.
Let's see. Okay, first one would be, what was your relationship with playing the games that you worked on? Like, would you have played them when they came out, or did you wait 20 years and eventually try it?
No, we would. The more we worked on it, the less work we had to do, right? So eventually, we would start helping with the testing, the QA.
Oh, okay.
So, and plus, as we're going along, we finish certain
Right.
sequences. We'd have to see how they actually play out and see if there's anything we could do to improve them, or if they need improvement, or whatever. So I played them all throughout.
Did you ever give them a play? Because I feel like once it's done and you can't go back in and edit anymore, it's like almost for me anyway. It was almost a different experience because I was able to just let go a little bit. Like, okay, there's no critiquing that's gonna matter at this point. Just play the game as a customer might, right? Try to enjoy it. Try not to see your own faults or whatever. So did you ever do something like that? Like just play the game as a whole experience later?
I did, of course. But I'm more the type that would go, God damn it, I should have done this over here.
Right, right.
Why the hell did I draw that way?
Yeah.
To this day, I get frustrated. Nowadays I go into Scum VM and I, review some of this stuff, and I'm going, God, if I could only go in and replace this.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
That's been one of my dreams, actually, is going in. I know how to extract views and loops from old compressed Sierra files,
Right.
Right.
and I can access the art. I can go in and change it, make it look better. But damn, how do I go and put it back in the game so I can play it, or
Right.
make like a little patch for the fans? That part I haven't
Ooh.
figured out yet.
Which games would you do that to?
Larry 7 and Torrens primarily.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Do you have a single animation that is like your standout favorite?
I don't know if I have a single animation that's a standout favorite. One that comes to mind is one of the longer ones I worked on. Larry, I worked on for Larry, which was him stepping into Captain Thigh's cabin,
Okay.
Yeah,
where it's like this beautiful lake with like a big pedestal with a clamshell on top, and he
Right.
kind of walks in at the bottom of the screen and
I love that.
looks around, sniffs a flower, and that kind of thing.
It brings the game to life. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's one of my favorites because it's one of the lengthier things I did,
Right.
and I was timing it to music and adding a
Oh.
little acting, and I was just a by that time I was a little more cognizant of certain things I was doing, so I had a lot
Cool.
more confidence. But there's other thing. I mean, on the polar opposite of that, there are times where, like, say in Larry's Casino, where we have to be really economical with the animation. Again, going back to Hanna-Barbera, that kind of approach,
Mm.
where I think I came up with some really clever and like personally satisfying ways of doing that with the characters.
Oh, like what?
Just the way I would draw things out that would kind of, it would, I don't know, to my eye, it looked a little more attractive, and how it's in just like even like a little blob of a shape. I distorted something to make it look like there's more animation there than there really is. And it was like little things throughout the game. The thing with that game, the thing I noticed about Larry's Casino is a lot of the animation wasn't cleaned up as neatly as it had been in the past. I mean, it was a different team. They were maybe, they for the most part didn't work on either Torrance Passage or Larry 7 to be around. They've been around for some of the conversations we had about how to make things look good when you're cleaning up pixels and you need to generalize things a certain way. And so there's little things here and there that kind of jump out at me going, I wish they'd used a different color here, or I wish they would have
Mm.
aligned these two pixels slightly different,
Right.
or use this approach.
You're listed on the Larry's Casino under animation on Team Larry as the main animator and the only animator on that page. All the rest that kind of did additional stuff are on other pages.
Yeah, I mean, I remember actually when I started, there was another guy down in Oakhurst, California, that had been working on it already. Did I just look at his stuff on the network? I mean, I remember communicating with him. I feel like I had access to his hand drawn paper stuff as well,
Right.
just so I had it to reference from and to kind of continue from if a certain character needed to do something else. And again, that was another instance of trying to match things that were already made, but kind of putting my own spin on it. That was kind of a fun exercise.
Right. Because, yeah, you work fast. I mean, you do. You work very fast. I think
Yeah,
you
yeah.
probably always have, haven't you?
I mean, in animation, you kind of get in a groove, and one drawing relates to the one before it in certain ways, so you know exactly where to, kind of draw your arcs and match certain things up, and so it kind of goes fast. And the faster you draw, the looser it is, the better it looks in the end.
Mm. Never thought of that. That's cool.
No, neither. That's interesting.
Do you from a I guess just from the perspective of somebody who is a admirer of and I don't know, you're much more than that, but is a fan of and a participant in traditional animation. Do you have anything in the last, like, even outside of games, in or outside of games, but any sort of media in the last, like, I don't know, couple of years, has anything stood out to you in the way of traditional animation that you might recommend to other people that really like it?
There's a cartoon. Yeah, there's a cartoon called Augie and the Cockroaches, which I believe
Nice.
is from France.
I love that one. They don't even
Yeah,
use any. The whole story is animation. That's it, and
yeah,
some little sound effects. It's the best.
yeah. It's no dialogue. It's a cat who lives in the house with what, like, three cockroaches that love to torment him. And it's kind of like Ren and Stimpy. It's kind of like Tom and Jerry. It's funny as hell.
Nice.
Yeah.
My good friend Johnny Villa, who's a Sierra fan, who's a game journalist in Brazil, introduced me to a thing called Wood and Stock from Brazil, which is essentially an animated version of the Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers.
Oh.
way better than the actual Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers cartoon that is on Tubi or whatever streaming channel.
Yeah, I heard about that.
It was, yeah. This thing is just funny as hell, quite subversive.
Shout out to Johnny Villa for having one of the most
Yes.
amazing Leisure Suit Larry collections I think I've ever witnessed in my life. I could aspire to have such an amazing
Oh yeah.
collection.
He lives the life. He lives the life of Larry.
The sunshade that goes on the car, he's got
Nice.
the towel, like, oh yeah, like the good stuff.
Yeah, but he's actually he's introduced me to. I mean, I my family's Portuguese for whoever doesn't know. So as a kid, we'd go to Portugal, and at the time they used to import a lot of Brazilian pop culture.
Okay.
So I got to look at like a whole different world of like really cool stuff that I would have never been aware of living, just in North America. I mean, there's stuff that even like England, or Canada, they might be privy to this, but living in the US, I wouldn't have been.
Yeah.
I started talking to him about like all these great things I remember from cartoons and just little whatever collectibles or TV shows or whatever from that I used to see when I was on vacation from Brazil. God, he kind of filled in the blanks so much for me. Getting into like Brazilian urban legends and
Oh, I love
Oh,
it.
cool. Yeah.
mythological creatures, and yeah, he sent me some art books and things, and oh yeah, oh
That's awesome. Especially when you're into the weird and the wonderful, right?
oh yeah.
That's awesome. So okay, then when you were done with Larry's Casino, what happened? Because that was getting pretty close to the end of the end there, eh?
Yeah, we were. I'm trying to remember whether. Oh, before Larry's Casino, there was a game we were working on called Vampire Wars, and that got canceled abruptly. I was on that for I don't know 4 to 6 months maybe.
Oh,
Um,
it's kind of a long time to have it canceled. That's a bummer.
yeah, I mean it was a strategy game back when Warcraft 2 had come out a short time before, so everybody was trying to put out their Warcraft killers.
Right.
And Sierra and Blizzard had become sister companies briefly because of the CUC purchase and the Ascendant merger and all that. And they made the mistake of looking to Blizzard to get their blessing for that game,
Ah,
not thinking that politically it might not be a wise move. They were already I don't know if they were pressuring them to cancel the game, but they already kind of voiced their displeasure. Why are you letting them encroach on our territory, kind of thing?
oh,
And then there was a day that they were doing what they call milestone meetings, which is everybody get together and put together a demo of your game, of what you have so far, that the executives can review in a day-long meeting, and be prepared to do a presentation and all that. And they had a really rough day of just things being behind schedule and certain things not working out as expected, and
right.
you don't want to be the last project on a day like that. And we were the last
Oh
project to be
God.
reviewed that day, and everybody was exhausted, and I think someone from our team tried to inject a little energy into the meeting, and by then that wasn't appreciated, and so they said, yeah, find something else.
Right. Damn. Yeah, that is really
Yeah.
unfortunate.
But the good news for people who are curious about these sorts of things is that somehow it ended up, and I'm not saying somehow as if I was involved, because I really wasn't. I have no idea who did it, but somebody put what we had of that game on the Internet Archive.
Ooh. Oh, that's exciting though. So people can actually go look for it.
Yeah, you can download a working version of what we had so far,
Oh, that's
Cool.
cool. Yeah.
assuming you can configure your computer to play it.
Right.
That's on you. It's there now.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, wow. Okay, so that was the timeline. So with that going, and then with the casino game going, and then what happened?
Oh, and then I was potentially going back to King's Quest Mask of Eternity.
Right.
I'd been working on that, and then they kind of moved people off of it to reconfigure that a little bit. for a few months. And then they said, okay, well, hey, let's start bringing people back onto it. And right around that time is when things seemed very iffy about it.
Mm-hmm.
And my only thought was, am I going to risk potentially losing my job because I can't tell from day to day whether this project's going to survive? Or do I start looking around for, maybe a greener pasture?
Mm-hmm.
And so I started looking around. And eventually I landed at Humongous Entertainment. They had their Cave Dog division for those who might. Well, I'm sure people remember, but Humongous was they were the company that did the Putt Putt and Pajama Sam games,
Mm-hmm.
adventure games.
Yeah.
Ron Gilbert and Shelley Day
Yeah.
were the founders. And eventually they started Cave Dog to make more mainstream games. And I was hired there to work for a year or two on a game called Amen the Awakening, which it was also canceled.
Oh, brutal.
But eventually a version of it came out entitled Consortium about a decade later.
Okay, so a bit of a loose timeline there on there. Okay, but I mean, you never really fully left the world of animation, though, did you?
No, no, I was, animating or doing concept art. From there, I went to Amaze Entertainment. I contracted at Microsoft, Wild Tangent, Gas Powered Games. I worked at briefly.
And some Digimon stuff. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, Digimon was at Amaze Entertainment.
Yeah.
That was a fun project. That was actually quite a fun project.
What would you say was the most fun or fulfilling post Sierra project you worked on?
Probably Digimon.
Probably Digimon.
Yeah, I mean, it was fully based on Smash Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, I mean, I say that, but it was actually a sequel to an already
Okay.
existing game by another studio, and so we kind of had to follow their template anyway. But we kind of took it and made it our own. To my way of thinking, vastly improved the combat system,
Mm-hmm.
Right.
and I proved, I suppose to myself, but to anyone else who might have doubted it, I proved that I could be proficient in modeling and animating anime characters. So,
Yeah.
Nice.
yeah.
That's a different style altogether, too.
Yeah, yeah. So that was pretty gratifying.
Am I mistaken? Did you work on Magic School Bus?
I did work on Magic School Bus, yes.
Cool.
Go on the
I
magic school bus.
I unofficially worked on Reader Rabbit and Rugrats
Nice.
games.
Nice.
That was also at a maze where a friend of mine was kind of like almost exclusively single-handedly working on that stuff
Mm-hmm.
for the studio, and he's like, Al, can you help me out? I'm kind of falling behind. I need to do this other thing. Would you mind taking this over?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I was working on a really semi unfulfilling project called Azaric Rise of Parathia,
Okay.
where nobody was really putting their best foot forward because it kind of felt like everybody was in training and kind of just frustrated 24/7. And I said, yeah, you know what, I would welcome something, especially in the educational arena, to kind of take my mind off some of this stuff
Mm-hmm.
and give me a little break. So yeah, I was happy to help.
Yeah, the Magic School Bus games were great. I mean, my oldest son was born in '96, so you can imagine this was just exactly the era that he was jumping into, is all of those kinds of games
Oh
and the
yeah.
Digimon, and he was just like right into it. I think I started him off with a Muppets game, and we went from there. Okay, cool. Well, that this kind of sums up what we wanted to dig into today. I really wanted to talk about how an animator thinks, but I do want, before we wrap up, to ask you, what would you wish more people understood about animation? Like, what's something that nobody really appreciates or understands unless they do it themselves?
I would say just the amount of agonizing that some of this stuff kind of requires at times. The
Mm-hmm.
amount of strategy when you're looking at the interrelationship of different images and how they all kind of relate to one another. If you're decent at it, you're your own worst critic,
Yeah.
and you're never happy. And you're constantly, as you're working, you're constantly looking for things you can change to for the better. When you're done, you're constantly looking at your stuff, going, damn it, next time I'm going to try it like this because I bet that would have looked better. And there really is a thought process to it that with everything converting over to AI now, that is getting lost, but also the recognition of it is getting lost. And it kind of becomes irrelevant because the machines are just seated on the final version of what came before.
Right. None of the process, just that final version. So yeah, you're missing a whole I mean, I think people can kind of, I would think, sense a soul behind something, but not necessarily. But is it about looking at a pretty picture, or do we care that the artist potentially cut off his ear in the process? Like, how much does the emotion matter? And that's, I guess, the question a lot of us have been asking ourselves lately.
And I mean, it's going to be different things to different people, but I mean, I can't imagine, having grown up learning animation, admiring animation the way I have. I can't imagine not appreciating the people behind it as human beings and as thinking people who built up their expertise and sweated to kind of
Yeah.
get where they were.
Yeah, I've recently rewatched Pinocchio with my son, and it's just every single moment of every scene is intentional. Right? I
Exactly,
mean,
yeah.
obviously, it took them, right, as you said, blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, just weeks to do the smallest of scenes in this movie, so it seems. And I guess I don't have any better of an answer either, but it just, I can't imagine ever being able to quite replicate what it is to watch some of these old Disney films, knowing they were hand-drawn and cell by cell, and it's just absolute magic. It's so good looking.
And now they're remaking them in quote unquote live action.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those doors were terrifying looking.
Yeah.
They were just nightmare fuel.
No, it's not the same. So, all right. Well, before we go, what are you working on? Shout out to any projects you're working on, or any projects that other people are working on that you'd like to get a bit of extra attention, or maybe what you're up to coming up in the future.
I am working outside of the game industry at this point, just because, at least on my end, things have been so kind of barren lately. It seems like so many people I know are kind of either training AI or just teaching or doing anything other than working on a game.
Right.
Looking for work. They're maybe illustrating or working in other areas. But I personally am just kind of slowly but surely, very casually working on a game with Sidney Hamilton with some
Oh,
input from Stephen Alexander, if I
Nice.
can drop his
nice.
name. And it's, assuming they don't mind me saying it, it's kind of like our riff on River City Ransom.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah.
So it should be fun. I mean, people seem to like what we have to show so far. Our plan, I believe, is still to come up with enough of a demo to throw up a Kickstarter and see where it goes, and
Cool.
go on to it a little more full time if we can manage it.
Well, that's a fun game to base off of. It's such a fun animated, isn't it just like a side scroller kind of a thing? But
Yeah,
I
yeah.
remember playing it on my Nintendo back in the day. I loved
Right.
it because it had the coolest little animations for what you would think could be just a straight up game, but there's more depth to it than that.
And we're adding different little touches to it. We're hoping to be able to bring it a little bit more into adventure game territory
Ooh, oh, how cool!
with a little touch of RPG, but to the degree to which we do that is still kind of up in the air. But I mean, I think so far Sydney's been showing it around, and people definitely like the direction we have going.
Well, cool. Well, we'll have to keep an eye out for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's exciting. Right on. Well, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to the show, and I would also like to just take a moment to acknowledge our Patreon listeners in the True Believer tier. At least I hope you're listening. You're paying for it, so you should probably listen occasionally. Hey, Gareth. Hey, Mick, Jeffrey, Mark, Brian, Chapman, Christopher, and Yanis, and Tim. Thank you so much for joining in and having faith on us, bringing you all of this kind of quality content. I mean, hey, if this is what you like, right? You want more conversations like this. You want conversations with people in Sierra, maybe more than just hearing Paul and I talking to each other. So, I'm glad you tuned in while I say this absolutely ridiculous sentence. So, check out the Phantom Fellows. You heard us talking about it. If you haven't yet, please do buy a copy for a friend. Leave a review. Just okay, loved it. That was great. If you did, that would be awesome. Say hi to us on Twitter, and that's probably the best way to do it, and Facebook. So at CGG Podcast or at the Phantom Fellows. We're on Facebook as a page and a group. We're also on Instagram and YouTube. Our email is still briefly on hiatus, so find us on all the other social medias.
Let's just say it. Open your wallet for some very decent people.
Aw,
They deserve it.
thank you.
Yeah.
Just it's really flowy, and if at the end you decide you didn't want a part of it to be released, or you said something you shouldn't, let us know and we'll consider removing it for a small fee.
Yeah, right. That's a great policy.
You could
Okay.
get us...
And you can sit quietly and talk about how cool it would have been to be at PR.
Yeah, I'm going to nod very enthusiastically throughout it.
Yeah, just quietly crying. That's okay, though. No, I updated Paul all the time. I sent him pictures and told him what was up, right? So you were practically there.
Right.